Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Les Johnson, Vice President of Family Support Initiatives and Area Resources for Community and Human Services, better known as ARCHES. Thank you to everyone who made week one a huge success, especially since this is the first time in 15 years that the Missouri Reentry Conference has gone virtual. Last week, we had an informative keynote speech from Department of Corrections Director Ann Presythe. Director Presythe emphasized the importance of wraparound services and collaboration to better serve justice-involved individuals. Then we debuted the first time in conference history, a film festival, and it was a huge success as well. And to cap off the week, there was an empowering panel discussion about the Aspire Mode program and how it sets up women for long-term goals with business skills. And we certainly received a lot of buzz and information from them and from the conference attendees. If you missed anything from last week, you can watch recordings of the keynote, film festival release, or panel discussion on the Missouri Reentry Conference app. Now, a few housekeeping notes ahead of today's session. This is a Zoom webinar, so attendees are not on camera and are not automatically muted, The only people you can see or hear are the host and panelists. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent out to anyone who registered within the next 48 hours. And so you will be able to view it offline at that time. If you would like to ask our keynote speaker or conference host questions, you can utilize the Q&A feature below. So make yourselves familiar with the Q&A feature. For other comments and discussion, the chat feature is also an option. Now you can send out chat messages to just the facilitators or to everyone attending. Communicating with the facilitators is the default. So in order to communicate with everyone, you will need to click on the To button and change to all panelists and attendees. And then you'll be able to communicate with all panelists and attendees at that time. Questions will be delivered to facilitators and will appear in the Q&A window as they are answered. You can also edit the view of your own screen, so you will have that control. On the Zoom toolbar, there's a drop-down list that says View Options with a few choices there. You can also adjust the size of the PowerPoint and the video screens if you prefer one to be larger than the other. So again, it puts you in the driver's seat. If you are on a mobile device, simply tap the smaller screen to switch and toggle between views. We want to thank the Missouri Coalition of Recovery Support. They sponsored the conference app and webpage. Here are a few cool features on this year's app. The app allows you to interact with other conference attendees once you're logged in. You can use the shake feature on the app to network with others in the same session as you. And all you have to do is literally shake your cell phone to begin making those connections. The app features a wall where you can post pictures or conversation starters. We'd love to see you learning and engaging, so we really would like to encourage you to post information and post your conversations and your pictures on the wall. You can also check out sponsors and exhibitors. There will be videos posted to the Film Festival tab every Wednesday. These videos were submitted by organizations across the state serving the justice involved. This week's conference theme is workforce development because it's critical to combat recidivism. Workforce development has also been a top priority for Missouri Governor Mike Parson, as well as the team here at ARCHES. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce today's keynote speaker, Dr. Mardy Leathers. He is the director of the Office of Workforce Development. Mardy has also led the state's public workforce development system through many challenges, including organizational restructuring, natural disaster, merger of state agencies, and right now, a global pandemic. You can read Mardy's entire bio on the conference app. And sometimes we refer to Mardy as just Mr. Workforce Development. So at this time, let's turn it over to Mardy. Mardy?
Well, thank you, Les, for that, and thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to be with you today. I'll just do a quick screen check. Les, can you see my PowerPoint up on the screen? If you'll just give me a thumbs up.
Yes, sir, we've got you.
Awesome. Good. Let's hope that part continues to go well.
Right.
And at any time, if I'm not loud enough, feel free to tell me to be louder, too. So just thank you, everyone. It's an honor to be here today. You know, Reentry Conference is one that we always look forward to on the workforce development side because it's a key partnership for us. And we are able to see great colleagues and friends. We're also able to learn a lot about what is happening across the state with the transformation of working with justice-involved individuals. And you know, I personally have a strong interest here, and I believe in the work that is being done by each of the stakeholders who support justice-involved individuals. And of course, in workforce development, it's very much about helping connect talents with opportunity, both on the employer side, but also on the job seeker or the incumbent worker side. Cultivating that resiliency among our workforce by ensuring that Missourians have the tools and resources and opportunities to help develop lifelong careers. And that's really what we're focused on. You know, in just 3 years since I've been fortunate to have been in this role, we've done some really amazing collaborative projects with our friends here at the Department of Corrections. And just to, you know, before I jump into my return strong and talk about what we're doing, I just wanted to take a moment to quickly recap some of the great work we've been able to do together in partnership and tandem with our great colleagues at the Department of Corrections. And first is we were able to launch the first registered apprenticeship program that was pre-release, or as we called it, behind the walls, serving Missourians who, before they were able to be released, were able to enter an apprenticeship program and leave with a series of credentials and training and go right off into work. So instead of waiting for an individual to be released and then trying to help them access a myriad of support services and help them access training opportunities, we were able to do that before release. And those individuals were able to be hired before they even were released. And so I'm proud of that. There was multiple cohorts. I was in Charleston, Missouri. We partnered with some great partners there, Mr. Chapman, Mr. Lewis, of course, Director Preside, and just a lot of individuals who allowed that to be successful. I mean, it's no secret in Missouri, we're proud of our work with apprenticeship programs. We are a national leader. Just 2 years in a row, we finished in the top 3 of states with the number of apprentices that we have registered, behind only California and Texas, and 2 years in a row that we are number 2 in the nation, behind California only, for completers. So our persistency rate is higher than any state in the nation except for California. So we're very proud of that, and we have a momentum and a model and a culture that's really driven around apprenticeships in Missouri. Other project that I was able to be a part of that I'm very proud of was helping bring our job center services behind the walls. And so we were able to do a great project. Unfortunately, it was pushed back a little bit because of COVID-19, but it's been relaunched, and that's our partnership with the St. Louis Transitional Facility. And we have staff in that facility working with individuals as they work through transition. We also, throughout, that model was able to be implemented across the state, and we now have staff going on location in many of the facilities across the state to help justice-involved individuals, again, before release, to make sure that we have resources and opportunities connected to them before they release. I'm very proud of that. And then just finally, I was involved, for those in the St. Louis region are probably familiar with Focus St. Louis in the Impact Fellow program. And I'm proud to have been an Impact Fellow in the 2019 cohort. And our group was called Just Talent. We're focused on working with justice-involved individuals to help them find opportunities for work. And we did a lot of neat thinking and really put out some innovative and collaborative ideas. And we partnered with a lot of great groups, including St. Louis University and we're proud of the work that we're able to do to put out a resource guide and to make a connection to for sustaining access to employment by individuals who are justice involved. So just, you know, proud to have those connections and those experiences, and I think it's just it helps ring true to the reality that in Missouri's public workforce system, it really is an ecosystem, and it is a partnership, and it's about all of us working together to serve a common goal. And so I'm just proud of the work and just thankful for the leadership at the Department of Corrections, the vision of Director Precythe. Without her vision, we would not have the opportunity to align our services together and to do some of the things we are. So I'm just grateful for her and grateful for others within the Department of Corrections that we've been able to work for and alongside. So with that, I will work into my presentation and this conversation about Return Strong. And you know, we've all been hit by this unprecedented economic disruption, and you know, it's more than just an economic disruption. Certainly in our world, we think about it from the economic and the organizational standpoint. We think about the labor economy and human capital, but certainly there's a significant health and wellness component of all of this. And while my conversation won't be intimately involved with that today, I will be talking a lot about how those two worlds collide and how very much, you know, it's always been the case that we think about the health and wellness of our workforce and how that impacts our economy and how our organizations function. But we're able to really see this now, and because this recession is unlike any other. And I know these are buzzwords, and everyone's tired of hearing the word unprecedented and new normal. And I'm with you, even though I'm a buzzword implementer by trade. I think that what is the big takeaway here is that these things, we're seeing how the different points along the stream of our economy can be quite impactful, and we now see health and wellness as a significant component of our economy, and realizing how to respond and react to that, I think is very important. So in Missouri, March 13th was sort of the beginning for us for COVID-19. We launched the COVID-19 task force on March 13th. And at that time, we weren't sure what to expect. We were thinking about the contingency plans, if you will, on what if we have to close a couple of our job centers. We have a network of 27 job centers across the state, 14 workforce development boards, and collectively about 600 people, both at the local level, the partner level, and at the state level, who work in Missouri's public workforce system. And we serve about 250,000 Missourians a year across the state. And so we're trying to understand, okay, if we're going to be, have to close a few centers for a few days, then, how can we pivot our resources and make sure that we can continue to serve Missourians during this time period? Never could we have realized that in less than 7 days, we would have to completely close Missouri's public workforce system, move all of our staff 100% remotely, and serve at its peak over 600,000 Missourians who are accessing unemployment benefits and found themselves temporarily out of work. And so our world changed very quickly, and our response to that had to adapt very quickly. And so we spent a lot of time between March 13th and May 18th doing just that, responding to the crisis, responding to the pandemic. But we realized that we couldn't only be responsive. You can only fight the fire for so long. You have to start being proactive. We have to start doing upstream work that allow us to mitigate these challenges, because this was going to be with us for a while. This is different than a tornado or some other events that we went through, where there's this short time period in which there's this immediate destruction, but then the pause button is hit and you're allowed to rebuild and recover. This pandemic has required us to continue to pivot and move, and it's going to continue to be with us. And so we haven't simply been able to relax and take the time to rebuild. We've had to continually be out front of this situation and to be innovative, be collaborative, and to think in ways that are upstream. So Return Strong Missouri really is about that premise, and I'm going to work through all these details now. But there's two legs of Return Strong, as you can see from the logos on screen. We think about it, the largest role is that we have is that's helping Missourians skill up and get back to work. As I said, over 600,000 Missourians were initially impacted, and that means they were temporarily unemployed, and they were qualified to receive some sort of assistance through the UI benefit program. Now, we don't oversee the UI benefit program. That's under Director Hugh and the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations and the Division of Employment Security. but we play a very key role in that we provide services and to Missourians who need to access those benefit programs. So while they were doing all they could to serve hundreds of thousands of Missourians daily who were trying to get access to unemployment programs, we were serving about 6,000 to 8,000 Missourians daily in more of a one-on-one capacity, helping navigate those Missourians through their benefits claims. And we're working with Missourians who never were we able to access before. Because of the broad reach of this and the expansive nature of this, we're working with self-employed individuals who never had access to the public workforce system before. We're working with members of the gig economy, underemployed or part-time employed. Again, all individuals who in the past and previous times were not qualified to receive our access to our resources, especially through the UI benefit program. Well, overnight, we went from having about 66,000 customers to, as I said, over 600,000 customers. And so we, as I'll show through the numbers, we continue to serve about 50% of that amount today. So it's quite a bit. So helping Missourians skill up and get back to work, whether they were temporarily unemployed or if they had to pivot to what's next because they were permanently unemployed, that's what Return Strong was about. And so that's what we were trying to combat. On the other side, I had mentioned we closed our entire public workforce system. Our colleges were closed, our schools were closed, our job centers were closed. And so we had to serve Missourians as best we could virtually. And I'll talk a little bit about that process and our process of reopening Missouri's public workforce system safely and responsibly. And that's something we're thinking about every day. You know, we want to keep our economy open. We want to keep our services flowing to the Missourians that need it. So it's important that we think not just about the portfolio of resources we have, but the work we're doing and the infrastructure we have in place to ensure that our staff can safely and responsibly serve Missourians in this time of need. So as we were thinking through this, we set out some guiding principles of what Return Strong would look like. And really these were our guiding principles of how we were going to do our part to rebuild Missouri's workforce development system, to rebuild Missouri's labor market. I mean, the economy is quite a robust thing in Missouri, especially. There's 11 different economic regions which act, 11 different ways. And then you have your 114 counties, which also behave differently and have their different levels of government of how that's structured. And so we had $2 billion of CARES Act money coming to the state and to try to figure out how to divide that up 114 ways plus the two cities, in Kansas City and St. Louis. And so, and then on our side, we have another layer of the 14 local workforce development boards that we have to work through. So a lot of thinking had to go in and a lot of connection had to go in. And so we set forth these guiding principles to ensure that we had a path for what Missouri's economic recovery and Return Strong would look like as it relates to our role in the public workforce system. So our focus was right at the outset to ensure that Missourians emerge from the economic disruption with increased skills and productivity. As I mentioned, we never had access to as many Missourians as we did at this time. And many Missourians were seeing an opportunity to work with us and not just accessing unemployment benefits, but we're able to have vouchers of $4,000 and $6,000 available for anybody who was on unemployment to retool themselves. And so you didn't have to permanently been laid off. You could be temporarily furloughed and maybe take that time and that opportunity to increase your skill set, increase your productivity, gain a credential or certification, and help increase the productivity of our economy. We saw a great opportunity there to do that with individuals, and we've been working really hard to connect those opportunities to Missourians. At the same time, of course, we're thinking about the Missourians who have to make a permanent decision and really pivot and rebuild themselves, as well as we had a whole new crop. This was the end of, this was the early part of spring, where we traditionally would have a bunch of new entrants into Missouri's workforce as college graduates, high school graduates, both cases. That was not happening as our schools were closed and graduations weren't occurring. Yes, individuals were still completing, but then employers weren't quick to bring those, to onboard all those individuals. So we knew that we had a bunch of problems happening all at once, and we needed to ensure that Missourians could continue to cultivate and develop themselves so that when the opportunity came to go back to work, they'd be as resilient as possible. The next item was thinking about how does our public workforce system collaborate seamlessly to serve all of our customers. In Missouri, the public workforce system includes 6 different state agencies managed by 3 different federal agencies. And so bureaucracy upon bureaucracy upon bureaucracy befalls that. And so we understand that even with the best intentions, sometimes we can get in our own way and we can fail to work together. So we wanted from the outset to ensure that the customer was receiving the support the customer needed. That meant all these individuals who were qualifying for unemployment benefits, that our staff learned quickly how to support the team over at Doler so that we could help access those individuals. So we had 162 of our field staff members, of which at the time only about a couple of dozen were able or qualified to support UI benefit recipients. All of them were then qualified, and we went through quick training to ensure that we could help support that end of the supply chain while that was happening. Then pivoting back to articulating and building a portfolio of options to help individuals who need to access career services and training programs. But working across all of our state agencies, working with social services to ensure that SNAP and TANF recipients wouldn't lose their benefits, working with housing to ensure that individuals wouldn't be unexpectedly removed from their homes, or their leases would expire, or their inability to pay their lease would lead to them unfortunately finding themselves without housing. Working, of course, with our friends at the Department of Economic Development to ensure that employers were being served, especially as they were temporarily furloughing employees. So it was about working seamlessly and collaboratively and understanding that it's really messy behind the scenes, but to the customer, to the Missourian, whether you're an employer or a citizen, we needed to have our A game. We needed to understand that they were in crisis and we need to serve them. The next item was reprioritizing our resources to mitigate the unemployment benefit cliff. And now that's somewhat past. But at the time, especially in May, we were looking at the end of July and knowing that PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, while it was allowed to go through the end of the calendar year, PUC, which was the extra money, the extra compensation, and I know that's been politicized, and I'm not here to talk about that part of it, but the reality is there was many Missourians who were accessing that program who were going to lose it. And we understood that Missourians needed to be aware of the expiration of those unemployment benefits, because when they expired at the end of July, and of course they were extended somewhat by the executive order into September, but when those expired, we knew there was a lot of Missourians who would have to quickly find an opportunity to get back to work. And we wanted to make sure the economy was ready for them when they did have to come back to work. And what we found along the way is the economy really was in need of employees. We still today have about 279,000 job postings that were that are available across the state that we're looking for employees for. Employers are still hiring, but it's about matching the current level of ability and overcoming those barriers that individuals have to get back to work. So the unemployment cliff is more than just about, do you receive the extra unemployment? It's, can you go back to work? Do you have school-age children at home that prevents you from going back to work? Do you have individuals in your family, we live in multi-generational households. Are you afraid to go to work because you may bring something back that adversely impacts a relative? Is it that you don't have transportation or childcare or any of these other resources? So we understood that the benefit cliff meant more than just PUA and PUC expiring. The next one is thinking about how we emerge from the economic disruption with more efficient processes for service and delivery. We were already going down this path of rethinking our job centers. And some of you have heard this project called Job Centers of the Future, which was launching right at the time that the pandemic impacted us. And it's really the third chapter in the trilogy of our transformational efforts for the public workforce system. So we rolled out Best of Midwest, and we rolled out Talent for Tomorrow, and this is really the third chapter of that trilogy. But COVID-19 and this pandemic pushed us beyond, it took us well a decade out to where we were. And the fact that we're a couple of decades behind on the virtualization of our services, and now we're trying to get 3 decades into this new millennium, really put us in a tough spot. And so we understood that we had to be more efficient with how we serve customers and how Missourians accessed us. What's unique is when we had to close our job centers down, we sent staff home, we had to go buy 182 flip phones and about 162 laptops. And we did not have a call center at the time. So over a weekend, we built a call center, and that call center was based on flip phones, laptops, and hotspots. And we supported Missouri's public workforce system really well into late July with that. And so all the time I talk about, we did the MacGyver version of making sure that we could continue to serve Missourians And we did so to ensure that, and we were more efficient with those resources than we've ever been able to be in our traditional bricks and mortar facilities. So this pandemic was able to nudge us in that direction and fit timely with jobs towards the future, which I'll talk about a little bit later in my conversation. With that, there's this conversation about omni-channel. I know this is kind of a unique word, and it's definitely consultant jargon for those of us in the business and economics world. But what it really means is multiple ways to access resources. And so, the fact that we could only serve customers before the pandemic, with small exception, but as a majority, our services were provided to Missourians 8 a.m. to 4:30 Monday through Friday in a bricks and mortar facility. And so understand that we have customers that are never going to go to a facility, and they're certainly not going to go to a facility now that COVID and the pandemic and other issues that are happening. The fact they need to be able to access us online. They need to have virtual options for chat and for video conferencing. That we need to have an interactive web portal where individuals can upload documents and complete documents and take training programs and access resources. And so the idea is that we need to serve Missourians in a number of ways. Here I always like to talk about the Walmart model, and this is really the whole crux and premise of Job Search in the Future. But the idea is I can do business with Walmart in a number of ways. And I think that we saw this across our economy, and we saw a lot of innovation really following what Walmart had already started, and some of the other partners have already started, but more quickly as a result of the pandemic. And that was that I can go to Walmart the traditional way, meaning I drive myself to Walmart, I park my car, I go into Walmart, I push the cart, I fill it up, I stand in line, and I have a human check me out. Or I can go to Walmart, get my cart, walk around Walmart, fill my cart, and then I can check myself out. Or if I want to do it a different way, I can order online and have it sent to my house. I don't have to even leave my house. Or I can order it online and have it sent to a front counter in Walmart, or have someone in the store pick it out and put it at a front counter. So all I have to do is park at Walmart and walk into one counter and grab my items. Or a fifth way, I can actually now order and have it delivered to me curbside. The idea is that I can do business with Walmart 5 different ways. And the idea is I don't have to do business with Walmart the same way every time. Sometimes I may want to go in Walmart and do business with Walmart, the traditional way of pushing my cart, filling it, and waiting in line for a service rep to cashier to check me out. But the idea is I need to have multiple opportunities to access Walmart. Well, it's the same thing in our public workforce system. We need to be able to serve Missourians where they are, when they need to be served, and how they need to be served. And never was so much true during the pandemic. And the pandemic really helped us understand that individuals need our access to our resources in a number of ways. And of course, and these aren't ranked, of course, these are all equally important. These are really pillars, but the last one on the page here is that we want to ensure our staff can conduct work in a safe, responsible, and customer-centric manner. We have an obligation to protect collectively, here at the state side, we have about 205 people who work in the Office of Workforce Development, but across the state we have over 600 Missourians who support the public workforce system through the local workforce development boards and their subcontractors and our state staff. And ensuring that our staff could be safe and come back to work safely and responsibly was very important. And so when we closed our centers, it wasn't just about waiting out the storm. It was about going in and rebuilding and redesigning our centers so they could be better positioned to serve customers and ensure the safety of our staff. So we have a portfolio that we rolled this out. Of course, every initiative has to have projects and money. So these guiding principles led to this portfolio. And this portfolio is still active today. And it was about $13.1 million. And we were very fortunate to have, from the outset, Governor Parson was very supportive. And it was, what do you guys need? What can we do to help right from the get-go? What do we have to do to get help Missourians get back to work and skill up? And so we were able to pull down about $10.3 million that we were allocated across our 14 workforce development boards of the CARES Act dollars. And so that equates to about $458,000 per workforce board, where they were able to help more Missourians access training. And as of this morning, we have about 640 Missourians who have enrolled since July 1st in a training program. That's pretty incredible. These are individuals who are enrolled into a program either at a community college or at a technical training school or through an online platform, or maybe they're in CDL training, welding training. They're in a training program and they're helping skill themselves up so they can be more resilient in the economy. We also rolled out some virtual and on-demand credentials. Today, you're able to, through a partnership that I'll explain in a moment, you're able to access a number of credentialing programs 100% virtually, to where you don't have to even leave your home and you can help skill yourself up. Same thing for job fairs. We virtualized all of our job fairs. And in fact, the end of July and beginning of August, we had 2 events that led the nation in attendance. We had over 2,500 job seekers participate and over 500 employers participate. Since that time, we rolled out a schedule of 12 events, and those events are held statewide, but you can choose to participate regionally. There's also industry sectors that we've identified: manufacturing, agriculture, IT, and healthcare, and some different events to help Missourians access. But we saw a lot of innovation here. Not just in the fact that we had a virtual platform, but a lot of our local workforce boards started holding drive-through job fairs where they were using their parking lot to put up resources. Individuals would just start streaming through in their cars, and they would hand them bags of resources. And then it evolved from there to, well, now we'll have employers at these events and they can hand out resources, and maybe if someone wants to pull off to the side, we could do an on-the-spot interview. And I'm amazed to see how many Missourians were hired on the spot, hired from the passenger seat or the driver's seat of their car, because they were able to go through a drive-through job fair. And what's even more unique there is almost all of those cars had children in the back of them. So that just tells us that individuals who otherwise wouldn't be able to go to a job interview or have some other barrier because of childcare or transportation were able to, these innovations were able to help them access more. We quickly, help, again, apprenticeships is our thing. We're proud of that. It's our ballyhoo. We were able to roll out very quickly patient care technician apprenticeship programs, and really in 3 weeks. So by mid-May, we had apprenticeship programs rolled out to help support the needs to help more patient care technicians to get on the front lines and help support Missourians. On the other side of the house, reopening our public workforce system, as I said, when we closed all of our job centers, we had to make a significant investment. We invested about $1.9 million in installing plexiglass, upgrading some of our IT equipment so that we could they could actually be compatible with Zoom and with some of the virtual training programs that we have rolled out. We had to adjust some of our furniture, modify some of our cubes, and basically and buy a lot of PPE. We have 450,000 masks, which came from MVE, so thank you. We were able to purchase those from MVE. We are up to 1,200 gallons of hand sanitizer, again, from MVE. Thank you. We were able to purchase that. And we're up to 1,200 gallons of hand soap. So again, from MVE. So, just another great partnership we had, and it was awesome to see how MVE retooled themselves what appeared to be overnight to be able to help us and help other state agencies respond to the pandemic, but to make the necessary investments. To my knowledge, there's not a Lysol wipe left in Missouri that we haven't bought, and we've been trying to buy more Lysol wipes, all of these resources to continue to serve Missourians as they go through our job centers. And so we were able to get all of our job centers open. I'm proud to say we were the first in the nation to have 100% of our job centers reopen. We had all of those open by August 11th, and that was pretty exciting. And we had a goal of August 15th to reopen them, and we beat it. And then we found out after the fact that we were the first in the nation from DOL to actually have all of our centers back open. Now we've had centers close and reopen and close and reopen as we respond back to the impact of the pandemic locally. But in all of our centers we're operating, we're serving Missourians. And many of those centers, even when closed, we're serving Missourians virtually and providing a myriad of services virtually to Missourians. And so one other aspect that's really kind of cool that we're able to do with our portfolio was that we're funded with about $98 million a year federally. And all of our funding is federal. We don't receive state funding. So the public workforce system in Missouri is a federal system. And so with that, there's strict prohibition against investing in marketing. And so I hear all the time, why don't you market your job fairs? Why aren't there billboards? Why aren't there TV commercials, radio commercials? Well, because we can't. The federal law prohibits that. Neighboring states like Kansas, Illinois, now you may see that well, Marty, they have videos. I see commercials all the time when I'm in Kansas City. You're right, but that's because they use state revenues to pay for that. We just don't have that opportunity in Missouri. The governor, recognizing that, was able to support us and help us for the first time design a pretty significant campaign for Return Strong that is on TV, that is on local radio, informing Missourians of the opportunities to skill up and get back to work. So I'm just proud that we've been able to have that and help promote our services. So I mentioned some innovative partnerships. I won't belabor this slide here, but two key partnerships one was with CompTIA. CompTIA is a trade association for the IT sector. Basically, all the big IT firms came together decades ago and said, we need qualified skilled labor, and we need to create a certain type of assessments to ensure that they know, so we know if they're qualified. So we now, if you're interested in managed services or a help desk role, you can receive an A+ certification through us at no cost. That's for 1,000 Missourians. If you are interested in cybersecurity, you can receive the Security Plus certification at no cost. And then just in general, project management is one area where we've seen a lot of demand from employers that we've talked about, to. And so we've been able to roll out that program. These are 100% virtual, and these are great credentials that help individuals, both if they're incumbent employees or if they're currently out of work. At the same time, we've been able to launch 3,800 different programs and courses with Coursera. Coursera basically is a platform where you can access credentials from major institutions across the United States. So University of Michigan, Yale, Google. There's a lot of great programs that are out here. Harvard, you can take programs and gain credentials. We've had about 17,000 Missourians receive credentials since we've launched this program in July. So, and what's neat here is we're on the back end, we can see what types of program individuals are seeking. So what's different about Coursera is, unlike any other program we've ever had, these individuals are able to go in, create their own profile, and then just pick and choose out of the 3,800 programs, whatever they want. And so on the back end, we get the data to say what, on the demand side, right, from the job seeker side or the incumbent worker side, what type of training are Missourians interested in? We always hear what employers are interested in, but that doesn't always match with what Missourians are interested in learning and accessing. Well, what we've seen is project management far and away is the number one. Then we see a lot of Microsoft Office. We're seeing a lot of leadership skill and soft skill stuff, and we're starting to see a lot of things as it relates to math. And so in Missouri, it's kind of neat because we're able now to better understand, and this will help inform us and better allow us to better pivot to serve, to design programs and make necessary investments going forward. The other great thing that came out of this was a big collaboration, and this was part of the governor's overall Show Me Strong recovery program. But we feed a lot of data here, and I'm going to show some of this data into this dashboard. And so, Alyssa, if you can put the link to the dashboard into the chat for me. This is the Show Me Strong Missouri dashboard, and you can receive a number of data points as it relates to our labor market, consumption, social impact, community financing, and different industry information. This is really neat, and Missouri has been recognized for being out front on this and just having a one-stop shop for all of Missouri's data, looking at how the economy is recovering from the impact of COVID-19. And this is great because this is a tool that's going to stick with us and that we're going to be able to continue to have as we go forward. So I'm going to show a couple of slides here that I'll go through quickly before I get to a point to ask questions. And this is just some of the resources that are out there that are helpful to us. So here you see some business indicators. We're able to look at how many Missourians are currently accessing UI benefit claims, and then how long are they receiving those claims. That matters. It's not just how many initial claims are there and how many continuing claims are there on a weekly basis or even a daily basis, but 15 weeks, 20 weeks, how long is it taking for companies to call these people back? One thing we're seeing already is it's taking companies a very long time to call staff back. Now, we think there's a number of reasons for this. One being the fact that in Missouri, 32% of our school-age children are 100% are learning 100% virtually, because our schools aren't ready to bring them back yet. Also, a lot of employers are trying to not bring employees back until they're fully ready. And that may mean that employers are having to figure out how to virtualize some of their services so staff can work remotely and be prepared to come back. But we know the economy is stable, but the economy, and we've reclaimed a lot of the jobs that Missouri had lost, and we haven't lost a lot more jobs permanently. But what we know is there's this it's just a slower churn that we're seeing, and I think we're going to see it kind of extend out. And this is a 12 and 18-month recovery period, not a 3-month recovery period. The idea of getting back to where we were, in 3 months, just it isn't a reality. If you look at enough different economic models, and there's two big ones. One is the GDP growth model, and the other one's the historic outflow. And I personally subscribe to the historic outflow model, and basically that tells us, as employees are leaving, what percentage is going to be brought back in, and at what rate do businesses have to hire to help rebuild the economy to keep up with churn. And we're doing a pretty good job in Missouri, but we're still struggling to keep everybody to bring in as many Missourians back into the workforce as we lost in a very short amount of time. I think the other thing to think about is, while our U3, our unemployment rate, the headline unemployment rate continues to fall. I'm very proud of the work Missouri's done and seeing our economy recover. We care on our side about the U6 and the U5. And so for those that are keeping score at home, the U5 and the U6 unemployment rates are always going to be a little bit higher. And those are the reason why is because those capture individuals who are part-time employed and underemployed and who are searching for work. And so it captures more individuals than just the U3. And it gives us a better understanding. If we look at that number and the labor participation rate number, we're able to really kind of come up with a better picture of how our economy is recovering. And so Missouri's economy is recovering. We're recovering as quickly, if not more quickly, than some of our peer states. But the reality is this is a major event that will take time to respond to. And we're going to kind of hit that doldrum of getting through the winter months and getting into spring and next summer, where we just have to continue to allow our economy to recover. Other business indicators that I think are kind of cool here. One that's unique that I like to point out is statewide traffic volume. We were able to monitor with our friends at the Department of Transportation and Economic Development different traffic volumes on our major highways. You see, April 1st, we had over a 40%, nearly 50% drop in traffic volume, and we've been able to see that build back up. Now, this is a little bit older of a screenshot, but we're back, even or above what commercial passenger traffic was before the impact of the pandemic. That basically tells us people are going back to work and that schools are reopened and that the economy is moving again. So that helps us understand a lot about what's happening. It also helps us understand, as we're tracking the virus, the transient nature of some of the Missourians and what that might mean with the spread of the virus. And then this dashboard here is more of an internal one, but we're focusing across all 27 job centers that are now reopened. We're trying to understand how many Missourians are we serving each day in person, and how many are we serving by phone. We're serving about 8 Missourians per day across the state in each of our centers, which is a very low number. Missourians just aren't flocking to our job centers in person. That said, we're serving about 120 Missourians a day per center through phone services and virtual services. That tells us there's a big demand for our services, just not in person. And finally, our focus of Return Strong is not just, how do we make it from March 13th to May 18th, which was really when we were, in reactionary mode, and then May 18th through, the end of July, end of August, now the end of September, of trying to help Missouri's economy open back up. Economy is open back up again. But now it's about what's next. Now that the economy is open, how do we keep it open? And how do we help the economy grow? And how do we help the economy heal? I think that's the big part of it. We think about treating the patient here and the patient being the economy in this context. We want to make sure we're doing everything we can to help sustain and allow that patient to heal. And simply, it's like taking your antibiotics. And they say, after you take your antibiotics, if you start feeling better, you stop taking them, you don't take the whole 30-day dose, then you're not going to heal yourself. Well, the same thing here. We can't pull out these resources or change our approach. We need to continue to work with the patient and heal the patient. So that's what I call sustaining the flywheel. And my team and those close to me hear me say flywheel all the time. And this is, the depiction of a flywheel. And the idea here is that as we build up our results, we're going to hit breakthroughs, and that flywheel will keep spinning, and it will spin faster and faster and be more effective as we grow. How do we do that? Well, we're going to keep adding to the rich history of growing and expanding apprenticeship programs, both registered apprenticeship programs and now what's called industry recognized apprenticeship programs, or IRAPs, for those that may have heard that terminology before. Missouri was one of 4 states to be certified as an IRAP state. I'm very proud of that. The Office of Apprenticeship Work-Based Learning, which was launched last November by Governor Parson, again, we continue to be a national leader and are well recognized for our efforts there. This omni-channel framework for service delivery, again, continuing our job centers of the future efforts to continue to provide multiple avenues, going back to the Walmart analogy that I use, to try to have more access points and to serve more Missourians. The next piece is just rethinking layoff aversion and response strategies. The pandemic will absolutely forever change how we do business, not just in how we serve job seekers, but how we serve employers. And what can we be doing to prepare employers for significant economic disruption, and what can we do to better respond to them? So we call that layoff aversion. Basically, what tactics need to be in play to mitigate major layoffs, especially permanent layoffs from companies, as well as how can we more quickly respond so that we can get the patient to be healed quicker. And then finally, working with our local workforce development areas to empower them with expertise, policy, and technology innovations. Again, we in Missouri, it's easy to be siloed and bureaucratic. And the reality is we've had a poor relationship with our 14 workforce boards for a very long time. Over the last 3 years, we've tried to rebuild and repair that relationship. But, nothing like a crisis to bring us together. And really the pandemic did do that. And we're certainly working closely to understand the needs of our partners, to understand the needs of Missourians, and to ensure we have the right resources, policies, expertise, technology in place to help grow and sustain our economy. So that's how we will continue to move the flywheel. Those are our steps forward. We'll continue to see results, as I showed you in the data diagram. We have new energy. As you can tell, I'm energized. I talk more than my lung capacity can keep up with sometimes, and we just continue to build momentum with our flywheel. So with that, I'm happy to open up questions and dialogue, and I'm just honored to speak with you today, and thank you for your interest. I understand some of this talks about the economy post incarceration, but justice-involved individuals absolutely have a place in the public workforce system, both in helping employers recognize the great opportunity to hire these individuals, as well as us working to help cultivate those individuals, prepare them for work before they leave, before they are released, but also helping ensure that they have good, stable employment to help break down on recidivism. So that we're passionate about it, we're focused on it, and we appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today.
Yeah,
Hey,
thank you,
Marty.
Marty. Oh, go ahead, Les. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say we got some great questions in the chat. I thought I'd hop in and help facilitate some of that.
Sure.
Marty, could you talk a little bit about how do people access the programs and trainings that you talked about, Coursera, CompTIA, like how is that delivered?
Yeah, so the best thing you can do is go to jobs.mo.gov. So I'll have Alyssa put that in the chat screen, but it's jobs.mo.gov. And if you go there, you'll be able to access the Return Strong page, which has access to all of our resources. And so the other way is to contact your local job center. And so if you are in an area that has a job center, definitely go to that job center. That job center is open now and they can serve you. As well as there's an 800 number on that same website, which if you call that number, they'll ask you to put in your zip code and it will take you to the job center closest to you. And I can promise you'll get a human to answer that phone from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday.
That's great. And I'll go ahead and put in a plug about Coursera. Those profiles need to be created by the end of the month. We have a free partnership through the end of the year. And so you can find out more information on there too at jobs.mo.gov about how to access those. But what about people in rural communities, Marty? How do they access it? What if they don't have internet? Is there anything that the Job Center is doing to support those individuals or efforts?
Yes, so we know the broadband continues to be a challenge. One thing we've done is partner with libraries. And so if you are able to access a library, all libraries in Missouri have access to broadband. You can access our resources there. Beyond that, though, we have some of our job centers are able to put up satellite facilities and mobile facilities. They're doing the best they can to bring these services to the communities that need them. Also, just working with our different resource providers and our channel partners across the state, whether it's vocational rehabilitation, working with reentry programs, working with adult education and literacy, working with community colleges, working with TANF and SNAP. You know, anybody who is providing services to Missourians, any of our agency channel partners, we want to be able to make sure that they're aware of our portfolio of resources that Missourians can access.
All right. Again, thank you, Marty, for a very energizing and jam-packed presentation. There was a lot of information that was shared. Thank you, Alyssa, for sharing the link to Show Me Strong, to the Show Me Strong site. It's listed in the chat room. Then also, I'd like to quickly recognize, as I look in the chat room, I can see that we have representation from across the state, from our partners, our workforce development partners, who help to, or helping Missourians return strong by helping them skill up. I see we have representation from some of the workforce boards. I see representation from MERS, looks like MERS Goodwill, the Urban League, and Better Family Life, just to name a few. But we've got quite a few of our community partners on board. And just quickly, I have a quick question for you, Marty. I've noticed more recently more open positions with MoDOT. Do you currently have some sort of a MOU or a letter of articulation with MoDOT?
So we have a great partnership with MoDOT in a number of ways. One, we're able to actually create registered apprenticeship programs with MoDOT. So we have a lot of apprenticeship programs that you can access now through MoDOT. In addition to that, we always work with MoDOT when it comes to hiring seasonal workers, as well as all the staff that they need. So through any of our job centers or through Jobs.Mo.gov, you can actually access all of MoDOT's postings. So if MoDOT has a job posting, it automatically shows up on our side, and we're able to connect Missourians who are interested in working with MoDOT, whether it's seasonally or more permanent, through our job center network.
Got it. Appreciate it, Marty. Don't see any additional questions right now. So again, Marty, thank you for your presentation. The information that you shared, again, was a wealth of knowledge. I think we'll have an opportunity to make these slides available. Folks will have an opportunity to revisit and your session, because again, it is being recorded. So again, thank you. For those of you, if you'd like to continue this conversation with Marty and the information that he shared with us, please visit the wall. You can use your conference app, place information or questions that you have on the wall, and individuals can answer from there as well. At this time, we'd like to transition to today's raffle. And so we will be conducting a raffle. And we'll be queuing that up in a minute here. Today's prize, talk about today's prize here. Today's prize is provided by the Missouri Department of Corrections. So Ann Presythe, director, and her team. And we've got several gift cards. Dine on DLC with $20 gift cards for Starbucks, Sonics, and Chipotle. So let's spin the wheel. Round and round she goes. Where she stops, no one knows. There are a lot of names listed there. All right, let's see. 1 second, let me maneuver as I have something in my way there. All right. Hey, I know this person. Looks like Joy Benet with the Missouri Department of Social Services, if I have the right Joy. She's the winner. Congratulations, Joy. Joy Benet. All right. Joy Benet with the Missouri Department of Social Services, and the Missouri Department of Social Services is also one of our sponsors. So again, thank you to the Missouri Department of Social Services. and all of our reentry conference sponsors. Once this session ends, there will be a brief survey to provide us with feedback regarding today's content. And as always, with any conference, we would love if you could participate in completing the survey. Zoom will automatically direct you to that survey as the Zoom webinar ends today. Now, tomorrow, be on the lookout for the next film festival release on the conference app, but you have to view it through and access it through your Missouri Reentry Conference app. And while you're on the app, please don't forget to register for the next session on Thursday, October 15th. And you'll find it under the agenda tab. So you have to search and scroll through and get to the agenda tab, where you'll find the agenda for Thursday, October 15th. That will be a panel discussion on Missouri state agency collaborations that work. I looked at that panel and I've had an opportunity to have some interaction with them, and they are ready and roaring to go. So we look forward to that. Again, thank you for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.